Cash is king, so are your commitments.
Just for a second, check out this awesome poster. This was actually given to me by a coworker at my software company. You're gonna have to go check out my YouTube short that I made on this. And this right here, oh my gosh, this X-Wing kind of weird, cool thing. If you walk by it, it looks like it's 3D. Totally a basement bargain at Michael's. But how awesome does this make my studio look? I mean, badass. Go check it out.
Hey man, if there's anything I can do for you, let me know. Hey, great meeting with you. If there's anything I can do for you, let me know. Why do people say this phrase? People say this phrase because it's a transition phrase from, hey, we just were in conversation, to I gotta get the heck out of here and get on to my next thing, or I gotta get off this Zoom. It has become almost as commonplace to use that as our, hey, time to go, as people use, hey, so what do you do at a networking event, right? It has become a habit. I've caught myself using this phrase more often than not. And the problem is, when I ask the question, it's like this little conversation bubble goes out there. And I want to grab it before it goes out, and they see it, they hear it, because I don't mean it. There are certain people that I just, at the end of the day, hey, we've had this great interaction, whatever, but I am not in a position to help you, or I don't have the bandwidth to help you. I have no intention to make any calls, open any doors, be a sounding board for your idea. I just don't want to, don't need the extra added stress. I just don't want the responsibility. And the problem is, we are so uncreative when we get out of conversations that is what we do. And what we don't recognize in the moment is that we are giving false hope to someone that maybe there is something that you're willing to do, a connection to make, a door to open, a shoulder to cry on, bail money if needed, and you are giving it because you put it out there in the thought bubble, and then they deposit it in their little brain. They're gonna pull it out and go, hey, I'm gonna call you in a couple of weeks because I do find some way that I need the help. This is wrong, because when you find yourself in that position, then you're gonna eventually be faced with the ask. And the ask is where you potentially lose all credibility and impugn your reputation and your brand, personal or professional. The reality is that question or that phrase, so hey, let me know if there's anything I can do. Some people will take advantage of that. Some people will say, yeah, actually I was looking at your LinkedIn and I see a connection that I'd really like you to make for me. Or I see that you are, got this experience. Could you, spend some time helping me walk me through a problem that I'm having? And you're like, I just spent an hour having coffee with you. Or I just spent, however long we were on a Zoom. Oh my gosh, no, I don't want to do that. But they hear it and you've given them the thread and it's your fault. And the reality is, if you don't follow through, then you just look like the poser that you are when you say that phrase. And I'm not accusing you, because I do it. I catch myself all the time. In fact, just this past week, I actually caught myself in a conversation with a connection that never should have been made for me, but I went ahead with it anyway. And I swear this conversation was, this guy was so desperate for help and looking for anything and everything under the sun for free. I explained some avenues that I could help him, on a more formal basis. That went nowhere. He's not looking to pay for a coach. He doesn't need consulting, doesn't really want to get involved in any of my programs, but he wanted what I have right there. And I needed to get off the call. We'd spent so much time, and the guy was selling me the whole time. I think he spoke for 30 minutes without taking a breath. And that's not a slight on him, right? I recognize the situation he's in. He's in between jobs. He's desperate, and he's looking for a lifeline. He needs some help. But the problem with it was I had to get off because I had another meeting. I said, hey, I'm really sorry. I've got another call I need to be on. But hey, if there's anything I can do, let me know. And then I stopped myself. I was proud. I pulled the conversation bubble right back down like a little rope, and I went, nope, putting that back. Hey, you know what, actually, I said that, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know that there is a way that I can help you, but I'd rather do something different than to give you maybe false hope that I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna think about your situation and try to figure out a solution to it. I will think about what we talked about. I will think about what you're looking for. I will agree to kind of peruse my network and see if there's any connections that might be advantageous but I don't want to set any false expectations. And so for me to say that, I just didn't want to leave that out there as a potential commitment for you, and then you be disappointed if I don't follow through. I have a heavy travel schedule. I've got a product release coming up. I've got all these things, and I'd rather just be honest with you than give you any false hope. And you would have thought like this was like scratching the vinyl record, like what are you telling me? Like, oh my gosh. Yeah, I apologize. I did not mean to like just dominate this call. I mean, this guy's personality changed like on a dime. And I said, no, that was not why I was doing it. He's like, yeah, I know, but I realized I just spent the majority of the time talking and just trying to build up my reputation so that, you would feel like the time was worth your time to invest. And this person that connected us actually thought you could open up some doors for me, and I realized that's a huge ask, that's a big lift. And I said, I appreciate that. And I said, I just have gotten to the point where I just don't want to let anybody down. And most of the time, that number one person I let down is myself when I overcommit or I take on somebody else's life or work challenge or problem. And if I'm not in a formal coaching relationship with somebody, then I'm taking on unnecessary burden for no compensation, right? And so this conversation wasn't for me to pitch you on coaching by any stretch. But I just want to share with you why my logic is the way it is. I will definitely think about some things, but allow me to come back to you, because really at the end of the day, I don't want you to come and say, hey, I do see a way that you could actually help me, and I don't have the bandwidth to answer or to respond or to take action. And it completely changed the dynamic of the conversation. And quite honestly, I think actually subconsciously, it switched something on in there, which is like, hey, look, good job, Steve, for catching yourself, for not overcommitting, not setting a false hope, which will become a trap for you later. But you actually are creating boundaries, and you're acknowledging those boundaries, you're verbalizing those boundaries, and that was huge for me. But then something magical happened. Probably a couple hours after we got off the call, I thought just out of the blue about a connection that this person probably needed to have. And as it turned out, when I started kind of just going down the rabbit hole a little bit, they actually had an opportunity at their organization that kind of aligned with this guy. Now, I don't know if there is going to be anything significant that comes out of it, but this guy would never have known about it had I not shared it with him. And I shared it with him because I think subconsciously I did want to help, but I didn't know exactly how to help. And because I gave myself the time and the space to think about, hey, is this somebody I can help? Rather than be like, oh my God, I hope this guy doesn't call me back. I hope this guy doesn't take advantage of me and say, oh, you said you could help me, but you weren't really committed. And then you're gonna feel like a poser and a loser, and oh my God, you're the worst person on the planet, Steve. Now my brain was able to actually subconsciously go to work on, hey, maybe there is something that you can do for this guy, but you're not committing to it. So if you never came up with an answer to that, subconscious question, is there a way? Then you don't have, nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? But also nothing lost. You haven't impugned your reputation. You haven't set false hope, and you haven't done something that really made you look like a absolute jerk, right? So I share this with you because at the end of the day, I think this is something important for all of us to think about. It has become a standard. I was on a call yesterday where somebody said, hey, man, let me know if there's anything I can do for you. And I'm like, yeah, I smiled because I knew I was going to do this video. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to call you. I'm not going to do that. But if I needed something and I was desperate, I might not know the difference and may just hang on to that thread and be like, yes, I need your help. And here's why. And I know this person has more on their plate than they could possibly ever imagine, but they do what I do, which is they don't have a better way to extricate themselves from the conversation. So last thing I would say in this video, what do you do if you can't say that, right? Hey, it was lovely meeting you. If I think of anything that could benefit you, I will get back with you. And if they're pushing for a follow-up, maybe we can get together on a Zoom in a couple of weeks. Let me get back with you on that. My schedule is just jam-packed right now, but I love meeting new people. I love engaging. I appreciate the connection. I can't think of anything I can do for you right now, so I don't want to set any false expectations, but let me noodle on it, and I'll get back with you if I find something, right? And if you do get back, you're gonna look like a superhero if you do. If you don't, hey, you're not setting any false hope or false expectations, and so there's no hit to your reputation. And so don't say it if you don't mean it. And if you do say it, see if you can grab it back really quick and put it back in your pocket and explain why. Because you'll find that these people will have more respect for you and appreciation for you as to who you are. And that, my friend, will create a positive ripple. Something to noodle on, something to think about. Let me know how I can help you. I'm just kidding. Totally kidding. You guys go. Have a fantastic day. Don't overcommit. Find a better way out of these conversations and watch the positive ripples that you'll create for yourself when you empower yourself to do it differently. Ripple on.